Add excitement to your holidays with Ohio Lottery Holiday Scratch-Offs, including $1 holiday cash and $5 holiday lucky times 10, or holiday bonus millions with a 200 times multiplier and a $2 million top prize. Plus, enjoy second chance drawings where you can win 10 times, 100 times, or 1,000 times the price of your ticket. Scratch-offs make the perfect gift, and best of all, there's no wrapping required. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
Experience holiday cheer at Tanger Outlets with savings up to 70% off your favorite brands. From fragrances to accessories and the latest styles, discover the best gifts for everyone on your list. Save big at Nike Factory Store, Michael Kors, Under Armour, Coach, Polo Ralph Lauren, Kate Spade New York, and so many more. Unwrap the best at Tanger Outlets. Hundreds of brands, endless gifting options. Plan your trip at Tanger.com.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to Post-Match Raw. I am your host for the Cup games usually anyway, but I am Guy. And I am joined only by Karl today because I think it was meant to be Trev, but Ireland doesn't want to fix his internet, which is fine. He's going to miss out on a classic episode of Raw today. But Karl, how are you?
I'm devastated that we're not going to get to hear Trev talk about his favourite ref, Hoops, as he refers to him.
Hoops.
But other than that, I'm all right, mate. It was a bit of a snore fest, but we did the job.
I mean, it's our first ever pre-season Raw, so that's something to be proud of.
We've genuinely had Europa League matches more interesting than that, and that's saying something.
Yeah, I think the only way we're ever topping that one is if we get in the Conference League, I reckon, which hopefully never happens. But, I mean, we kind of touched on it there. I mean, the League Cup, it's obviously kind of our cup because I think we overtook City last year, or we equalised with City in terms of wins, but they cheated anyway. So. But it is kind of our cup. But this season feels like we've obviously got bigger stuff to play for, and I suppose it did last year, and the year we're in for the quad, obviously. I mean, where does it sit for you? I mean, it's obviously nice to win a cup, especially for a new manager in Arnie Slot. But I imagine a lot of people were going into this game going, if we lost, I wouldn't be overly arsed, and it felt like that at times.
Yeah, I fully agree. And to be honest, I think that was probably the same sentiment from Arne Slot, or at the very least his coaching staff, who were actually touchline, unlike him, who was safely out of the rain tonight. That was a good moment he picked to get his suspension, wasn't it? I mean, lineup-wise, I think we could very, very much see where the priorities lie. I don't think too many people would be disappointed or disheartened by his choices in that regard. I think some people would probably be even surprised in how far he went with those alterations. I expected a couple more seniors to start anyway. But I think in the end it was a reasonable balance of those who have been on the fringes, those who have been playing, but maybe not every single game over the last sort of 2-3 months. And obviously we got to see a few of the kids involved, which we haven't really done so this season very much.
Yeah, that's kind of been the one, not issue, but surprise, I suppose. I think we may have wanted to see more, but I suppose we've had quite a few injuries to our more experienced youngsters, if that doesn't even make sense, but I'll roll with it because Damned had only just come back, McConnell's only just come back. You probably won't put Morton in that field anymore, so it's got a big difference between that and then like Trainioni and Goma, I think that's how you pronounce his name, who were like 16, 17, I suppose. So it's nice to see Dan's and that come back, but we'll get on to them as some of the closing points. You mentioned the lineup there, and in terms of experience mixed with youth. We had Kelleher, Trent for a half, Kwanzaa, Endo playing kind of a hybrid role, which we'll touch on. Gomez, again, kind of a hybrid role, playing left-back and centre-back. Morton and Neoni, Elliott, McAllister, Gakpo, Nunes. So a bit more experienced in the attack there. And just to go through Saints' team, because why not? McCarthy in goal, Howard, Bellis, Wood, Bednarak in a back three, Bree, Aribo, Downs, Fernandez, Manning playing behind Dibbling and Archer. Their team's probably is closer to their first team, which you'd kind of expect, considering that their manager or temporary manager is probably only going to get a handful of games at Southampton, you'd presume. Why wouldn't you try and beat Liverpool to put on your CV? You kind of already touched on our team. You maybe thought a couple more experienced heads in there. Is there anyone you thought would start, just didn't at all?
For Saints?
For us, sorry.
Oh, for us, okay. I did think that maybe we would keep the defence the same, with Virgil in, basically. He was the only one that was missing. I not that I particularly wanted him to be playing, but I did think, given the lack of alternatives, shall we say, that maybe he would be involved. And maybe the job share, which has been this year between sort of Szoboszlai and Jones, maybe we'd see one of them start, one of them off the bench. So maybe they were the only ones I expected to see from the start. But really, I think it was the bench, the lack of either Szoboszlai or Jones again on the bench, or Luis Diaz, for example, not being on the bench, that kind of thing. Those are the ones who I probably more expected to be sort of bolstering the group. I certainly hope to not see Gravenberch, Salah, Alisson, obviously. I know he's only just back from injury, but let's not attempt anything else. He's been quite good since he came back. So just the general depth, I suppose. But like you say, you can't sort of have it both ways, where you need those, not the young ones coming through, but those ones who are on the verge of being first-team options. You've got to have them available. You've got to give them minutes if they are available. Otherwise, they never become that next step. So if you're going to have them on the bench, then obviously there's not necessarily going to be the spots for Diaz and the others.
Any thoughts on the Southampton team that you care to even talk about?
I think they're an abomination.
Yeah.
I don't know if you really need me to go into it more than that, but they are garbage. They've got a few players, obviously, who can trouble us and can put themselves about a bit, but I think the way that they play is very disgraceful, to be honest. I think quite a lot of goodwill must have been stacked behind Russell Martin for him to last as long as he did. There's nothing against what they did tonight. It's just what we've seen from them over the course of the season. It's been horrific. It's been egotistical. It's been so arrogant. I've no sympathy for them whatsoever. I suppose you can argue that some of the players might not have been wanting to do what they're doing, but it's a club, it's a team. You're in it together, and this is what they've produced. And it's farcical, to be perfectly honest. I think they're at least a few there in the midfield and attacking group. They should have enough to be far more than they are right now.
Yeah, and I know you kind of have touched on it recently over in Scoured and on Raw in the recent league game, or kind of recent league game now. But when you you look at Ipswich, I know Ipswich are still in the relegation zone. They might not be now. Leicester aren't in the relegation zone. I wouldn't say either of their sides are talent-wise that much better than Southampton. It's just the fact their managers came into the league he was never been in before with such an ego and thought he'd just be able to piss it. And I know this is a cup game, so it's kind of off point, but we have to talk about something because the game was shit. But I just don't see how this team, like looking at Sheffield United last year, were historically bad. At least there was such a talent deficit that you can kind of understand it. They weren't trying to play suicidal football, where this is just taking the piss, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're 16 games into the season and then 9 points from safety. It's ridiculous. And most of the goals that they concede on a week-to-week basis are of their own making. There's no other way to put it. They've conceded way more goals as a result of their own approach and their attempts to whatever you want to call it, have a style, have an ethos, a way of playing, whatever it is, than actually teams going and doing things to cause them to concede chances and goals. Just not very good, to be perfectly honest. And I get that the fans obviously had a pretty rough time of it, but I don't think they're particularly good. I'm getting a bit bored of like most rival fans singing things of Darwin Núñez, to be honest, even though some of the time we've rightly said that he's been rubbish and all the rest of it, but it feels a bit every week now fans are sort of trying to get on at him, and basically I don't think this Southampton side or the fans of this Southampton side have anything to tell anybody that they're not any good at all.
Yeah, and we get the classic feed the Scousers and stuff like that, which is always just, well, it's always rampant this time of year, which is a pain in the arse. I'm sure, obviously, we're not Scouse, but his boss just fucking get on the tits, really. Anyway, we'll get onto the game. I mean, basically I said before we started, we could literally just skip to the first goal, but there is some sloppiness. I mean, Kwanzaa gives away a foul literally in 5 seconds, which is impressive. And then my next note is sloppy game for the first 10 minutes. And then my next note is not a lot is happening.
I mean, it sounds stupid, but this is actually absolutely what it was. Southampton came out straight away and put 10 behind the ball and just left Cameron Archer just to run around somewhere near Endo. And that was what it was. Like, this is a team that's lost 6 of the last 7 and the other one was a 1-1 draw. What are you going to expect from them? They've just sacked the manager. It was always going to be a game where they had to mount some sort of response because of that. The manner of their weekend defeat, obviously, the fact that it was like a lowest of the low of all the very, very low things that they've done this year. They had to have something different about them tonight. And obviously the way they decided that they would do that was to just pack out the defence and kind of stifle us and hope for the best on the counter or long balls or whatever. And that just made for, a lack of space and a lack of ability of people to do individual actions in the final third and all of that. And then when you combine it with the fact that our team was one which lacked cohesion and rhythm, with Elliott making his first start of the season, Nioni making his first start ever, Tyler Morton, who's barely kicked the ball this season. All of these people are in prime build-up or ball progression positions, and none of them have any routine, none of them have any rhythm or anything like that. So it was always going to be a bit of a slow one, let's say, and it just had to be about a few moments or quality or errors when it came to their part.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just quickly go through some things before the first goal, just to name them. Gakpo tries to skin a few people. He actually does, then puts in a bad cross. Gakpo nearly sends through Darwin. I think it was Gakpo. I don't know why, but I've not put the person who passed in my notes. Bednarek tackles him anyway. Southampton get a break because our midfield's pushed up too high, or our defence has dropped off too deep. You decide which one's correct. Fernandes passes to Dibbling, and then it's just kind of a weak-term shot because the defenders get back. Elliott fouls Aribo, and then we get the first goal, Karl, which is probably the first moment of quality in the game from Trent, who just shows great composure. I can't remember the attacker he skins, but he just glides past someone with a nice touch. The pass is deflects to Darwin, and then the keeper slips, and it's just an easy finish for Darwin. But in a game that was low quality for the reasons you just listed there, it was a nice moment from Trent, and then Chuckle Brothers.
I mean, yeah, I can't argue with any of that, to be honest. I did have a momentary concern that when Trent was turning away from that first forward, who I assume was Archer, he was actually turning straight into the second one. He was running onto him. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It was a really good moment of composure and quality, a sort of little Cruyff turn, obviously out of the way. I think it was Fernandes running onto him as the second player there, but maybe
I think so, yeah.
And then, I don't know about you, but I think, given that it was a left-footed pass from Trent, and from as deep as it was, obviously, there was quite a bit of pace on the ball, and the fact that it was a wet ground, I think if Bednarek doesn't get the half clearance on the ball, it probably skids away from Darwin because of the angle that it's going away from. So, yeah, it really did help us out that they went for it and made an absolute mess of things. Never quite sounds right coming from myself, from my own mouth, but in honor of Trev and Dave, who are not here, should we say he made a hames of it?
Oh, that doesn't sound correct, does it?
It doesn't.
It's not. That's not an English word. That's all right.
Don't even really know what it means, but let's assume someone's made a mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, McCarthy obviously started to come, then thought better of it, and then sort of slipped. And so you got to credit Darwin for keeping his composure. It was a reasonable first touch, and he just had to make sure he finished the job. And let's be honest, sitter as it probably was, we've seen him miss those, or at the very least, seen him smack them onto the woodwork plenty of times. So, yep, hands up. That was a nice, neat little finish from Darwin, and probably what we needed, let's be honest, at that stage. It was getting a bit, come on, lads.
Yeah, I was probably on the verge. To be honest, my first half experience was my dog biting my arm because he wanted to play. So that's probably the only reason I didn't fall asleep in the first half. So thank you to Harry the dog for keeping me awake. My arm is now stinging. I need to put Sudocrem on it after this. But yes, thank you, Harry the dog, for playing bitey hand. There's some half opportunities in between the goals, but it doesn't really matter. So we'll go straight on to 2-0. Elliott, it's a really nice finish with his right foot. It does take a slight deflection. The keeper may have saved it, but it doesn't matter at this stage. But it's nice interplay between Gakpo and I think it was Endo, if I remember correctly. And then Gakpo sends Elliott through. He's got a few plays around him. Right foot finish. It takes a deflection, but it's a really nice team goal. And if we kept that team on, that probably would have been game done. But obviously, we kind of made a lot of subs, and so did they, and the impetus changed in the second half. But say if that was a league game, I'm guessing that would have just been game over. It did end up being a bit more exciting. But yeah, the second goal for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the second goal here was like the one moment of actual quality during the match, if we're being honest. Like you said, it was really good build-up play, a couple of good passes in the lead-up to the actual goal. I thought Gakpo first half was pretty good, to be honest. You mentioned a couple of the little the dribbles infield. You could tell that basically he was the one who had rhythm in his game. Like, he was the one who'd really had minutes of late. I know we had McAllister playing as well, but he's missed the last two with suspension. You say you spend the first half having a bitten arm. I spent most of the first half laughing at McAllister looking absolutely sodden out there and just like he never wanted to be in that kind of position again. And I thought, if that's not the best deterrent for players getting suspended in two competitions at once, I don't know what is, because otherwise he definitely wouldn't have been in this game. So hopefully he and everybody else in the squad learns a lesson there. Don't ever get booked again, or you'll be playing in a monsoon in Southampton. That's
eyes on you, Gravenberg. We know you're
exactly so. Yeah. But yeah, it was, like I said, really good movement in the first instance from Cody, and a lovely weighted pass as well. First touch from Elliott, I thought was pretty good as well. Probably would have wanted it on his left foot, but didn't break his stride. Just ran onto it nicely, got good connection, and yeah, deflection probably helped again. But you know what? It's Alex McCarthy in goal, and doesn't save a lot these days. There was a time when he saved everything, when it was taken, a shot was taken by a Liverpool shirt, but those days have gone, and he doesn't save things anymore.
Experience holiday cheer at Tanger Outlets with savings up to 70% off your favorite brands. From fragrances to accessories and the latest styles, discover the best gifts for everyone on your list. Save big at Nike Factory Store, Michael Kors, Under Armour, Coach, Polo Ralph Lauren, Kate Spade New York, and so many more. Unwrap the best at Tanger Outlets. Hundreds of brands, endless gifting options. Plan your trip at Tanger.com. Experience holiday cheer at Tanger Outlets with savings up to 70% off your favorite brands. From fragrances to accessories and the latest styles, discover the best gifts for everyone on your list. Save big at Nike Factory Store, Michael Kors, Under Armour, Coach, Polo Ralph Lauren, Kate Spade New York, and so many more. Unwrap the best at Tanger Outlets. Hundreds of brands, endless gifting options. Plan your trip at Tanger.com.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, But I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit libertyshield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
God, remember when Reading were a thing in the Premier League? Weird times. Was it QPR? Or was it both?
No, Paddy McCarthy was QPR.
Oh, yeah.
He was very much Reading.
Yeah. Anyway, before we go off on a tangent about Steve Kitson or something, or Dave Kitson, something like that. Where are we? A minute 34, chance on the break. Darwin kind of slows it down. We're 2-0 up. It doesn't really matter. It would have been nice to be 3-0, but it leads to some patient play. Trent, again, one of the players with rhythm, if I can speak. See, I don't podcast every week and I can't bloody speak. Never mind, play football. It leads to a lovely Trent pass to McAllister. It's a decent save from Alex McCarthy. And that's half-time, Carl. I mean, any reflections on that massive half of football?
What I will say is that we might joke about it and, people might have wanted to switch off at that point or, whatever else. But what I will say is it's not very often you get to watch a Liverpool training session live. And that's what we got to see in the first half.
That is very true. And it's nice to get it on Sky Sports instead of like the YouTube channel as well. So they had to pay to produce that as well. So that's great. Well, so did we by watching it. But anyway, subs at halftime. Chiesa and Tsimikas come on for Trent and Gomez. That means Morton moves to right back. It's nice to see Chiesa come back. Obviously, he's had a tough time at Liverpool and Juve in recent years with injury. So it's nice to see him get a full half of football. Tsimikas, we know the struggles at left back, so it's nice to get him 45 minutes before presumably, well, I suppose Gomez will play centre back, of course he will. But it's nice to get Tsimikas some minutes before because he's needed now at left. No, is Robbo? How long's Robbo's suspension?
Just the one game.
Is it just one? Okay, so Robbo will be back. So, but we need people at that position anyway. Trent and Gomez, we know they're their first teamers, especially with Ibu out, so they're understandably subbed. Tsimikas nearly puts through Gakpo straight away. That's where Bree looks to pull his groin and then somehow runs it off for a little bit, which was very weird. I really think the fact that the manager let him as well, interim manager let him as well, it's like, it's not his job. Might as well crack on, lad. Then I don't have another note for 10 minutes. Elliot got booked for getting manhandled, I think.
I'm not sure what went on there. It seemed, obviously he was grabbed by Downs first of all. I assume he either pushed him to try and get him off or he said something afterwards. But on the very, very short replay, it showed, there didn't really look much that Elliot had done other than be small.
Yeah, he existed, basically. Just in honour of the Irish lads, ref watch. It's always nice, is not the word, but Simon Hooper.
I can't stand Simon Hooper. That's the first thing to say. I think he's garbage, but it wasn't his worst night, I will say that, and it wasn't good. So, put those two things together and come up with whatever conclusion you want.
His best ever game.
I'll be honest, I don't think, I didn't see anything at the very least that Harvey Elliott should have been booked for there. But later on, he could have been shown a yellow card for a foul, which was like a bit of a mate challenge sort of thing. He could well have been sent off for it. Maybe mention that along the way, but I thought that was far more of a yellow card instance than the one he actually got booked for. And considering should we say the wet conditions and the number of sort of pullbacks and stuff like that we saw across the course of the night, I didn't really think that, those were the only yellow cards shown up until we got to stoppage time, I think. So, yeah, not one where he had to be at his most fussy, let's say. I actually took more umbrage with the commentary that we had to put up, which was absolutely desperate for Southampton to create something out of absolutely nothing at every turn than I was with the referee tonight.
Yeah, every offside chance was a massive moment. See, my main thing with Simon Hooper is a Southampton player tried to catch the ball and he didn't book him, which was impressively bad. But anyways, didn't really matter. Yeah, it's fine. Just crack on.
Just before we move on, my favourite moment of the first second, Gomez I thought was good again, by the way.
He was, yeah.
From left back stroke, left centre back stroke, left wing back stroke, wherever the hell he was playing.
Mm-hmm.
Gomez, right before he obviously went off at half time, we got there's no VAR and Gomez must be very relieved. And then we actually got to see the replay where a Southampton player fell into Gomez and fouled him.
Yes.
That was a strong work from the commentary team tonight.
It really was. Where are we up to? Their goal. Their only goal. I don't know, I said first goal. It's a really nice finish from Archer. It's quite poor by Tyler Morton, who is now playing very much out of position, which is understandable. And Kwanzaa, they just didn't really cover each other that well. They just went the same direction. Mm. And obviously we had the Endo situation, which we didn't really get a replay of. It was a head injury, which means it should technically be stopped. But what happened to Endo? Did he get clattered by a Southampton player? Or was it just a clash of heads?
The ball was whacked into his face. I think.
Oh, right.
That's. Like you said, we did really get a replay of it, but from what I could see, I think the clearance actually hit him and bounced all the way back to Archer.
Right. Okay. So, technically it should be stopped, but I don't think that's as egregious as if he got wiped out by a Southampton player and then stopping it. So that doesn't really annoy me, to be fair. But a word on Kwanzaa, because Tyler Morton playing at right back is Tyler Morton playing at right back, so there's nothing really there to discuss. But Kwanzaa, we obviously came into this season with a lot of hype because he was really good last year. He starts off badly because the Ipswich game happened, and he just seems to have not got that confidence back yet. And overall, I thought he was okay today. And who cares, because it's the League Cup against Southampton. But I don't know, there just seems to be that nervousness in everything he does now. And I don't know if it's just a lot of expectations on a young centre-back who is now fourth choice. Maybe it's a crisis of confidence. Maybe it's just a young player going through whatever the hell the opposite of a purple patch is.
Brown patch.
A brown patch, yeah. What are your thoughts on Kwanzaa? Because he's obviously having I'd say a difficult season at this stage.
Yeah, look, it's very difficult to judge, I think, because first of all, last season when he came in, and you're absolutely right, he did a really, really good job. First of all, he's playing next to Van Dijk, game week.
Yeah.
So that lifts everybody. Whoever is playing there alongside Van Dijk generally tends to do well because he helps them do well so much more than any other defender is able to do. So that's the first thing. Secondly, as a young player in such a key position, obviously once you're in a bit of a rhythm and you've got a bit of form and you've got a bit of a run going in the team, I do think it's probably easier just to go out and play a really good game, a natural game, and sort of you are confident and you're solid in your role and you know your responsibilities and all the rest of it because you have rhythm. It's game after game after game. And he doesn't have that this season. So both the being in the first team is still a new environment for him, in overall career terms. But also being out of the team is a new situation for him, and he's probably struggling to deal with that a little bit, coming in and having to perform at that level where you have rhythm, but when you don't have rhythm. I think that is a difficult thing, and obviously with a young player who's not got loads of experience behind him, let's be honest as well. So kind of natural, but I do think he seems sometimes a little bit lax, a little bit not completely switched into the game, like, really focused or really determined, that kind of thing. Maybe that's just his style. Maybe it's just the way he approaches the match, and so that's fine. You haven't got to be or look a certain way or anything, but sometimes when he makes slight errors of judgment, it feels to me it's because of that. I think tonight, actually, he did really well. Like, obviously for the goal, that's a separate incident, but in general, because we had such a weird setup tonight, and we haven't even touched on Endo yet. We must.
I did forget. I should have brought that up. Yeah.
So we might as well mention that now. So for anyone who didn't get to watch or didn't watch or chose not to watch because you, let's be honest, did not want to watch,
because you're not doing a podcast after.
So it was basically Trent right back, Gomez left back, Quansah and Endo centre back. Except it really wasn't, because as soon as Liverpool had possession, Endo pushed forward into midfield, and it was very much like quite a narrow back three, wasn't it? Gomez was tucked in, Trent was very, very deep most of the time, except for a few times. Then Gomez decided to go rampaging down the wing and like overlapping and stuff like that. So it was fairly fluid, but Quansah was the constant who was basically the sitting centre back, and I think he did pretty well considering that's a role very, very few young defenders of that level of experience would be asked to do. Obviously, he wasn't overly tested in a defensive sense because we had like 70% possession, but he mopped up well. There were a few times he ran across and made decent clearances. He won a few headers that he needed to do, and obviously the passing out the back was generally good. I think he had a few sloppy moments second half once the changes had been made and stuff, but for the most part, I think he did that well. But you have to be absolutely on it for that position every single time. And yeah, for that goal, I think you're absolutely right. Morton and Quansah both did exactly the same thing, which was try to go sort of down the line with the player before he actually went there. They didn't show him down there. They just went down there themselves. So one really has to try and force him out wide. And Quansah ideally would be the one sitting inside in case you did check. But neither of them did, and yeah, allowed him too much space basically. So hopefully that's something he can learn from. Like I say, I think he did all right in the role overall with the responsibility that he had and so on. But from a technical and positional perspective, I understand it's difficult for him this year, but also it's a bit brutal. You have to do better if you want to continue being in the team.
Yeah, it is very much sink or swim as a centre back, and there is one more Quansah moment we'll probably finish the show on, which is the somewhat of a penalty shout or free kick shout. But we'll finish the show on that. They get the goal, and then a few minutes later, they have another huge chance. I think it falls to Archer, and it's a very good save by Kelleher. It's a great ball by, is it Sugawara, however you pronounce his name. This is probably their best patch of the game. They have a good few chances, or half chances. Quansah gives the ball away a bit nervous, as I mentioned. Then we had a chance to probably, re-kill the game, where Jota skins a couple people, it just works the ball into the box, and Chiesa aims for the throw-in line, where he's passing it.
That's kind of what happened here. I can only assume the ball held up a little bit in the grass. He nearly hits it with his heel by the time he's trying to side foot it. It was a shocker. The angle that we had on the telly, like in live motion, it looked like he had about 15 yards of the goal to aim at. It was awful.
It was bad. That was impressively bad there. And then a minute later, he then megs a lad just for the vibe.
I had to drop the balls so dead out of the sky.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Fantastic. And then Southampton decide to bring on Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy in Onuachu, or however you pronounce his name, because he is a big man. And then the game just turns into chaos because everything is falling to him, yet he can't do anything with the ball. He air swings a shot. I think he misses a ball just won't fall to his head. I mean, he may never score a Premier League goal, but that lad is pure chaos for whoever the new Southampton manager is going to be. He will cause every team issues. He may not be the issue, but he'll make issues for the other team somehow.
Yeah, not wrong. He caused us problems in the league game. Obviously, he's really hard back, and I mean, again, depends on the style of the team and all the rest of it, and maybe it's different tools for different accounts.
That'd be great for Sam Allardyce.
Well, God, yeah, absolutely right. But I mean, even you remember Southampton under Hasenhüttl, for example? It was nearly always a 4-4-2, wasn't it? Really, really narrow midfield, but a 4-4-2. Imagine if he'd have had Archer and Onachu as his two. Like, one obviously a bit more hold up and powerful and aerial, and the other one who's capable of running off and like actually played directly into his front two. He would have loved that. He never had two really decent options like that.
Maybe they should have backed Hasenhüttl when Hasenhüttl was the Southampton manager. It's a weird idea.
I mean, you mentioned Sheffield United earlier. They played 3-5-2, and obviously Archer being one of their potential options. I think they'd be a decent pairing to trouble teams, but they don't necessarily stylistically go with what Saints have been trying to do, which has been shit. That's probably okay.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.